Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're stepping right into the high-stakes, fast-paced world of maintaining web security and modernizing classic content management system architectures. If you've ever dealt with managing a long-standing web platform, you know the drill, right? Technical debt and outdated workflows can just slowly grind development to a complete halt. But today, we're looking at how open-source communities are fighting back. Specifically, we're going to explore how the developers behind XOOPS are completely rethinking and modernizing their workflows, literally from the ground up, with a 2.7x release series.
So I want to pose this question directly to you, because it really is the ultimate architectural puzzle. How exactly do you bring a classic CMS into the modern era of web development? You've got this core challenge where you absolutely have to balance legacy compatibility, keeping years of existing modules and community extensions functioning, while simultaneously upgrading to leverage cutting-edge PHP environments, modern CSS frameworks, and super strict security standards. It is not an easy needle to thread.
Okay, let's dive into this. The announcement for the XOOS PX 2.7.1 final release is our anchor today. Because this isn't just a simple version bump. No way. It's a fundamental modernization of how the whole system operates, how developers interact with it, and how administrators deploy it. As the release notes proudly state, this is all about safer upgrades and stronger foundations. They're bringing in refreshed dependencies for current PHP environments and tightening up the codebase with some serious top-to-bottom security hardening passes.
Here is the technical blueprint for how we'll peel back this system layer by layer today. We'll start with a modern CMS evolution, then move on to secure and streamlined upgrades. After that, next-gen developer tooling, modernizing the admin experience, and finally, global collaboration workflows.
All right, kicking things off with Section 1, a modern CMS evolution. The developers have drawn a pretty firm line in the sand regarding system requirements here. XOOS 2.7.x completely drops support for older, unsupported PHP versions. The absolute minimum requirement is now PHP 8.2.0, with PHP 8.4 or 8.5 actually being the recommended path. We're also seeing modern baseline requirements for MySQL, MariaDB, and web servers like Apache and Nginx. For a system administrator, this leap to PHP 8.2 Plus is massive. It means you're immediately benefiting from the baseline performance enhancements and those strict type safety improvements native to modern PHP, which, inherently reduces bugs and vulnerabilities right at the server level.
Moving right along to Section 2, Secure and Streamlined Upgrades.
Let's move to Ant and see how this builds a truly rock-solid deployment pipeline. Data and execution flow really carefully through these crucial steps. First, you start with a staging environment backup. Pretty standard, right? But step 2 is where it gets really interesting, the pre-flight check. For sites upgrading from legacy 2.5.x versions, running this pre-flight check actively identifies Smarty4 templating compatibilities and other critical items that need attention before the main upgrade even begins. Then, you move into an isolated upgrade wizard, and finally, module updates. This structured workflow is exactly what prevents sites from breaking mid-upgrade.
Now focus on these foundational security membranes that have been integrated into this workflow. The upgrade wizard isn't just sitting out in the open, it strictly requires administrator group membership to log in, and applying patches now demands a valid security token. So the crucial takeaway here is that they're designing a secure by default environment. Even the upgrade SQL dumps are now stored entirely outside the public web root with access-controlled download paths. Plus, outward-facing areas, like the Tell a Friend form, have been fortified with CAPTCHA and persistent per IP rate limiting, which finally stops those endless waves of spam bots dead in their tracks.
Next up is Section 3, Next-Gen Developer Tooling.
The bundled dependency set here has been completely refreshed to really empower developers. We're looking at a major upgrade to the Smarty 4.5.7 templating engine, and for the front end, developers now have native integration with Bootstrap 5.3.8, as well as this incredible new addition, a theme based on Tailwind CSS and Daisy UI, featuring 35 distinct color palettes. And this brilliantly illustrates how modernizing workflows isn't just about security, It's about giving developers the agility to build faster and debug smarter. They've even integrated Monologue 2 and 3 compatibility, complete with logic that automatically bounds or redacts sensitive context before it ever writes to a log file.
Speaking of debugging, let's compare these two architectural approaches regarding the debug module. In the old workflow, the debug bar was bundled directly into the core CMS download. That basically meant any updates or fixes to the debugging tools were logged to the often slower core CMS release cycles. Under the new workflow, they physically decoupled the debug module into its very own standalone repository.
I really want to highlight why this matters for your daily development workflow. Because the debug bar is now a standalone module, fixes and improvements to your debugging tools can be published and downloaded instantly. You no longer have to wait months for a core software release just to get a simple patch for your developer tools. It drastically, and I mean drastically, increases the agility and speed of the entire development cycle.
All right, that brings us to Section 4, Modernizing the Admin Experience.
The back-end interface has been completely revitalized. Administrators are greeted with a sleek new modern admin theme built right on Admin LTE 3. Forms are now rendering beautifully using native tabbed form containers, which really cleans up those overly complex module settings pages. And for those of us who stare at screens all day long, which is probably all of us, let's be honest, dark mode is now fully supported across the new XBootstrap 5, XSwatch 5, and XTailwind 2 themes. It's just a visually refined, highly professional admin experience.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how back-end logic has been tightened to solve some long-standing legacy pain points. Previously, managing custom or cloned interface blocks could be, well, a bit fragile. With this update, when an admin clones a block, the system securely retains its original module binding and strictly validates callback fields, like path and function fields, without allowing any directory traversal. It perfectly demonstrates how workflow modernization is happening deep under the surface, making everyday admin tasks much more predictable and secure.
And finally, we arrive at Section 5, Global Collaboration Workflows.
37. That is a massive number. It represents the absolute scale of community-driven language translations available for this system. Beyond the English source, this software natively speaks 37 different languages.
But honestly, it's the workflow behind these translations that is so impressive. Localization has been completely streamlined via a GitHub-driven organization called XOOPS languages. Similar to the debug bar decoupling we talked about earlier, these language packs are now published independently from the core software. This means community members worldwide can easily fork a repository, fix a typo, or add a completely new language, and that pack can be downloaded and used immediately. There's no build step required, and you don't have to wait for a core patch to fix a simple translation error. It's basically a masterclass in open-source collaboration workflows.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a final thought to ponder. We've seen how strict PHP foundations, decoupled tooling, secure staging pipelines, and independent translation repositories all compound to create a highly efficient ecosystem. So how could your own development workflows, whether you're managing a classic CMS or building a brand new application, benefit from studying and implementing this modernized, layered architecture? It's a fantastic reminder of the sheer power of open source evolution. Thank you so much for joining me to explore this fascinating source material, and keep learning.